The bill to release the Epstein files could be on President Trump's desk as soon as tonight. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Arena. I'm Casey Hunt. It's wonderful to have you with us on this Tuesday. A wave of stunning developments on Capitol Hill. The House voting overwhelmingly to release the Epstein files. And now the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, says that since it has the president's support, he could hold a vote as soon as today. Let's get off the sidelines and head into the arena. My panel is here. We're also going to start with CNN Chief Congressional Correspondent Manu Raju and CNN Senior White House Correspondent Kristen Holmes. Manu, first to you. This timeline, pretty quick. Now, Manu appears to be talking to Thomas Massie, so maybe we'll just listen in to this for a second.
Right, not just to do a discharge petition and get it passed through the House, but to get the Senate to pass it and get the White House to sign it. We're not there yet, but when we get there, this is not a subpoena. This is a law.
And so you are confident that these documents will ultimately come out, even if the president tries to fight this?
Yes, I'm confident. And that we sort of, we know when they're out because we know what some of these lists, who some of the men are. I don't have the names in my head right now. The ultimate thing that we could do is read the names on the floor of the House, and that could happen, but what needs to happen is the FBI needs to release these names.
Is that something you might do if he resists this, if the DOJ releases this? Could you go to the floor and read these names?
We absolutely would do that. Marjorie would do that. I would do that. There are Democrats who would do that. And but that's not the right path forward. That's the last effort if we hit all of the walls. But so far, we're making it through the walls and over the walls, and we're getting this done.
How much time are you willing to give the president and the administration to release these documents when this becomes law?
I've never set a timeline. The victims have waited a very long time to get justice, and it's really up to them.
All right, thank you. All right, I know that we're on with you, Casey. As I walk back to you and to talk to you about the conversation that I just had with Thomas Massie, you caught the end of it right there, but we talked a little bit beforehand. I talked to you a little about just the whiplash that we are experiencing here in Washington, from going from it looking like that this bill, it was unclear when the vote would happen in the House. It appeared that they were going to try to push this until early December for a vote. It appeared that it was dead in the United States Senate. And then suddenly the president reversing course, saying that, yes, Republicans should vote for this. And then the speaker begrudgingly voting for this. And then the 427-1 vote in the House today. And now the expectation that the United States Senate could pass this bill unanimously tonight, which seems like a very, very likely possibility to do that, even as the Senate Majority Leader John Thune just a few weeks ago was throwing cold water on moving ahead with this because the president was opposed to this flatly. And I asked him about why this happened. He said what happened here was that the president pitted his base against Republicans in Congress, and the Republicans in Congress could not buck the base of the party, and that's why he saw this shift. And he also said that he sensed that the party would be in dire straits heading into the midterm elections if they were seen to be on the side of covering up in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking ring. So the political dynamic, in Thomas Massie's view, helped change what happened here over the last 24 to 48 hours, and a really remarkable turnaround here, where we're now seeing this bill on its way to becoming law potentially as soon as tonight because of the shift in politics and the president essentially joining the rest of his party after fighting against this bill for some time.
Yes, saw the train leaving the station. Manu Raju, doing what you do best. Thank you very much for that. Kristen, is the president going to sign this, and are they prepared to do that tonight?
Well, look, President Trump committed yesterday to signing this bill if it landed on his desk. Now, it doesn't seem as though he believed it was going to be moving this quickly. He also said that they would wait and see what happened in the Senate. But as this is picking up momentum, I talked to White House officials who say that he is pledging to sign that bill. Now, of course, anything is possible once the bill is actually on his desk. And again, the White House was not expecting this to move so quickly. In fact, just over a week ago, they didn't think this was going to happen at all. They thought that they were doing a good job job at trying to keep this vote from happening, trying to keep Republicans from going all in. But it became clear to President Trump on Friday that he was going to lose when it came to this issue, that the vote was not only going to happen, it was going to pass in the House, and likely by a large margin, which of course we saw to be true, which then you saw President Trump reversing course. Now, I have spoken to a number of White House officials who say that they fully expect that after this is passed, there will be new documents released by the Department of Justice. What exactly is released and when, that still remains a question. But you could see today President Trump sitting in a meeting, getting asked questions by a reporter on the Epstein files, on the release of these documents, growing more and more irritated. This is something that has plagued him for much of his second term. This is his interaction with the reporter who pressed on Epstein.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. Your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something. I think the license should be taken away from ABC. I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you.
Now, it's not that surprising to see President Trump talk to a reporter like that, but it has grown increasingly likely when he is getting questions about Epstein. Just over the weekend, when another reporter was pressing him on questions related to Epstein, he said, "Quiet piggy," to that reporter before then turning to another reporter to take questions on Venezuela. This has clearly gotten underneath his skin. But again, I am told by White House officials that if this lands on his desk, he's planning on signing it. They do expect more documents to be released, but there are still questions as to what exactly is going to be released and when.
All right, Kristen Holmes, Manu Raju, thank you both very much for getting us started. Our panel is here in the arena. CNN political analyst, White House correspondent for the New York Times, Zolan Cano-Youngs is here. CNN special correspondent Jamie Gangel, former Biden White House communications director Kate Bedingfield, and the Republican strategist Brad Todd, both CNN political commentators. Thank you all for being here. Jamie, you were watching that exchange between the ABC reporter Mary Bruce and the president, and then, of course, there was the comment that he made the night before on the plane. What is your assessment of why the president reacted the way he did?
Let's be clear, he didn't like the question. And that's what he does. When he doesn't like the question, he attacks people. Donald Trump lost today. He hates that word, loser. And let's be clear, he was forced to change his position to save face because the votes were going against him. I think one question is this the turning point? Is this the moment when the Republicans get their spine back? I think the answer is maybe. Donald Trump is a survivor. He has survived January 6th and 2 impeachments. But there are 2 words we're going to hear more and more, and those 2 words are lame duck. And he is not going to like those 2 words. And so I think we're still going to see a tension between him and
I want to show everyone what one of the things Marjorie Taylor Greene said this morning. She, of course, has been MAGA from the beginning, which you'll hear her say. But the president in recent days has called her a traitor because she has pressed him, disagreed with him over this issue. Let's watch what she had to say.
I wasn't a Johnny-come-lately to the MAGA train. I was day one 2015. And I'll tell you right now, this has been one of the most destructive things to MAGA. Watching this actually turn into a fight has ripped MAGA apart.
That, of course, at a press conference with survivors. Brad Todd, can you just help us understand the political dynamics of what happened here? Because we haven't seen the Republican Party or groups of Republicans stand up to the president in significant numbers, except here.
I think Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie are getting outsized attention here. They have very little credibility in their own conference in the House. They were just the only Republicans willing to talk, so they got a lot of media attention on it. I think this was always going to head this way. The administration probably should have done the release on its own terms before it came to a discharge petition. I don't fault Mike Johnson at all for trying to stop a discharge petition from passing in the House. It's a terrible thing for a majority party to allow to happen. And I don't think in the end this will cause a lasting rupture between the president and his supporters, because I think they mostly are behind the president.
Why did he fight it so hard?
never back down is his philosophy. more than any ideology, that's his philosophy. And I think he did not want to be told what he had to do on it.
Maybe, but he also behaved in a way that made him look guilty. I mean, there's kind of no other way around it. I mean, I understand the never back down philosophy, but when your actions telegraph that you are guilty of what you're being accused of, I'm not sure that that's a position of strength. And I'm not sure I would agree that it was inevitable that it was always going to go this way. I think Massie, Green, Lauren Boebert stood strong in a time when the White House was putting maximum pressure on her, and we've seen in other instances like this, House Republicans who've had intense pressure from the White House have folded, and they did not. So I think the combination of another thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene said today that I thought was really helpful in understanding the dynamics is that this saga really went at undermining what the faith that people had in MAGA, that people were for MAGA because they felt like that it was going at a government that they couldn't trust and that they didn't have faith in, and that this scandal really eroded that sense of that MAGA's for you.
Well, I saw Jamie Raskin said that he would welcome Marjorie Taylor Greene to the Democrat Party, and I think most of us would say you can have her.
Listen,
there's some truth from Brad.